Have you ever wondered where the Earth keeps its oldest, quietest memories? Perhaps they are not found under the bright, demanding light of the open sky. Perhaps they are folded safely beneath the soil, waiting in the cool, still dark. There is a profound peace in the spaces hidden just below the surface of the world, where time moves not in days or hours, but in the slow, unhurried settling of stone. This is Sleepy Mysteries, a place where the heavy thoughts of the day can finally be put down. Tonight we are journeying downward into the ancient underground cities that have slept beneath the earth for thousands of years. You do not need to remember any of this, Luna. You only need to let the weight of the day slip from your shoulders, sinking as gently as dust settling on an ancient carved floor. Close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and allow the quiet of these hidden depths to wash over you. There is nothing left to do, nowhere else to be, and nothing to hold on to. And so we begin. If these quiet journeys help you rest, a gentle like or subscribe helps others find their way here too. One sleepy soul at a time. And so we begin. Carved into the quiet earth deep beneath the sunlit plains of central Turkey lies the vast, quiet expanse of Derinkuyu. It is an ancient city carved entirely downward, reaching a depth of 85 meters into the earth. 18 distinct levels rest one beneath the other, like pages in a heavy, closed book. An archaeologist named Evander once described walking through these spaces as walking through the very center of time itself. The rock here is called tuff, born from ancient volcanic ash that settled millions of years ago, creating a stone soft enough to be sculpted by human hands. Over centuries, quiet hands carefully scraped away the earth, shaping warm rooms, long hallways, and silent courtyards that would never see the rain. There is a deep, settling comfort in knowing that thousands of years ago, people found safety by simply allowing the earth to hold them. When you imagine the heavy, protective stone wrapping around those ancient rooms, you might feel a similar blanket of calm wrapping around you. The world above may spin and change, but the stone below simply waits, holding its breath forever. The air inside these buried rooms is surprisingly sweet and fresh. A massive network of ventilation shafts was carefully designed to draw the cool air down from the surface, carrying it past level after level of sleeping quarters and kitchens. More than 50 of these main shafts pierce the ground, accompanied by thousands of smaller, hidden channels that act like the lungs of the buried city. They breathe in the night air, filtering out the heat and the noise of the surface, delivering only a steady, cool draft to the deepest corners of the stone. Even now, if you were to stand in one of those lower rooms, you would feel a gentle breeze brushing against your skin, traveling from a sky you can no longer see. It is a slow, rhythmic breathing of the earth itself, moving in and out with perfect patience. Perhaps it is easy to let your own breathing match that ancient, steady rhythm. The quiet, unhurried air continues to flow through the dark, carrying nothing but peace. Far to the north, beneath the green, rolling hills of Picardy in France, sleeps another hidden world known as the underground city of Nawers. Roughly 300 artificial rooms were hollowed out from the pale, chalky limestone. The chalk is soft to the touch, crumbling like dry snow if you press it too hard, yet strong enough to support the weight of the forest above. These chambers were first carved during the 3rd century, providing a quiet sanctuary for farmers seeking refuge from the turbulent seasons. A local historian named Celeste spent years mapping the winding corridors, noting how the sound of a human voice becomes instantly muffled, wrapped completely in the soft chalk walls. The acoustics of the space refused to let any sound travel far, turning every footstep into a soft thud and every spoken word into a gentle whisper. It is a place designed to absorb the noise of the world, leaving only a thick, comfortable silence in its wake. We all need a place that absorbs our noise, and leaves us with nothing but rest. Without the sun, the residents of these deep sanctuaries relied on the soft, flickering glow of oil lamps. Tiny, shallow alcoves were carved directly into the walls of the tunnels, placed at perfect intervals to guide the way. They burned linseed oil or animal fat, casting a warm, golden light that danced gracefully across the pale stone. Imagine walking down a long, curving hallway, guided only by these small, gentle stars resting in the rock. The light would not be harsh or demanding, but rather a soft invitation to step forward into the warmth. A researcher named Aldrich documented over 400 of these lamp alcoves in a single section of a buried city, noting the smooth, darkened patches of ceiling where the soot had gathered over generations. That soft glow must have felt deeply comforting, illuminating a small circle of safety while leaving the rest of the world to rest in the velvet dark. There is no need for bright lights now, only the gentle glow of your own resting mind, sinking deeper into the quiet. Water was drawn from the very bones of the earth. Deep wells were sunk past the lowest floors of the underground cities, reaching far down into ancient, hidden aquifers. These pools of water were entirely untouched by the sunlight, remaining perfectly still, crystal clear, and wonderfully cold. The residents would lower clay pitchers on thick hemp ropes, waiting for the soft, echoing splash that signaled the water had been reached. Because these subterranean lakes were filtered through hundreds of feet of porous rock, the water was exceptionally pure. You can almost hear the slow, rhythmic sound of a wooden bucket being drawn upward, water dripping softly back down into the echoing dark. There is something deeply soothing about water that has slept in the dark for centuries, waiting patiently to be found. It flows in secret, nourishing the earth from the inside out, completely undisturbed by the weather or the passing of the seasons. Like that hidden water, your mind has a deep, quiet place that remains still, no matter what happens on the surface, to keep the outside world firmly away. The entrances to these deep corridors were protected by massive circular stone doors. These incredible discs of rock weighed up to 500 kilograms and were carefully carved to fit exactly into the tunnel walls. They operated on a brilliant, simple principle, rolling smoothly on a hidden track, pushed into place from the inside. Once the stone was rolled shut, it sealed the corridor completely, turning the hallway into a solid wall of rock. An observer named Sylvan marveled at how perfectly balanced these massive stones were, requiring only a gentle, sustained push from one or two people to glide into place. When the door was closed, the outside world was entirely shut out. No wind, no light, and no trouble could cross that heavy, ancient threshold. You too can roll a heavy stone across the doorway of your thoughts tonight. You can seal out the loud, busy world, leaving yourself in a quiet, protected space where nothing is required of you, and nothing can disturb your sleep. Always beneath the sleeping sand, the journey continues beneath another kind of earth entirely, where the heavy stone gives way to packed, sleeping sand. In the sweeping deserts of North Africa, the hidden architecture exists just below the baking surface of the sunlit dunes. The ancient dwellings of Matmata in Tunisia are not built upward into the sky, but are instead hollowed downward into the earth itself. The builders dug massive, circular pits deep into the ground, creating open-air courtyards that sat far below the horizon. From the edges of these sunken courtyards, they carved out individual rooms, extending outward like the petals of a hidden flower resting in the dirt. An explorer named Caspian once spent weeks living in one of these sunken rooms, noting how the fierce, howling winds of the desert completely disappeared. The moment he stepped down into the quiet courtyard, the earth simply swallowed the storm, offering a profound, unbroken stillness in its place, far removed from the shifting sands above. When you surround yourself with the quiet of the earth, the storms of the surface no longer matter. It is a gentle reminder that true shelter is often found by simply sinking deeper into stillness. These buried courtyards created their own unique, gentle climates, completely insulated from the extremes of the outside world, while the desert above, baked under temperatures reaching 45 degrees Celsius. The rooms below remained perpetually cool, resting naturally at a mild 20 degrees all year round. The thick layers of earth acted as a perfect thermal blanket, absorbing the fierce heat of the afternoon sun and holding it far away from the sleeping chambers. A botanist named Isolde visited these subterranean homes in the 1970s and was amazed to find small, fragile ferns growing in the shaded corners of the courtyards, thriving in a place where nothing above ground could survive. The earth protected them, offering a cool, shadowed sanctuary where life could unfold slowly, without the desperate struggle against the harsh elements of the open desert. It is deeply comforting to know that even in the harshest environments, there are hidden pockets of absolute peace waiting to be found. You can allow yourself to rest in your own quiet sanctuary now, completely safe from the heat and the loud noise of the waking hours. The walls of these sand-carved rooms were smoothed entirely by hand, leaving the gentle, rounded impressions of the people who shaped them long ago. There are no sharp corners or harsh lines in this underground world, only soft curves that guide the eye and the spirit gently toward rest. To keep the loose earth from crumbling, the inhabitants applied a natural wash made of water and local clay, sealing the walls in a soft, dusty white layer that breathed with the seasons. This pale coating caught whatever minimal sunlight filtered down from the courtyard above, spreading a diffused, milky glow through the deepest sleeping quarters. Wanderer named Theron described the light in these rooms as feeling incredibly soft, much like the glow of a pearl resting quietly at the bottom of a still pond. It was a light that asked for nothing, perfect for eyes that were tired from scanning the bright, endless horizon of the desert above. You do not need to look outward anymore, Alara. You can simply let your eyes rest in the soft, fading light of your own quiet mind. Beneath the ancient deserts of Iran, a different kind of quiet architecture slumbers, patiently in the dark. A vast, intricate network of underground aqueducts, known as qanats, stretches for thousands of kilometers beneath the dry, baking earth. These subterranean channels were carved thousands of years ago to carry water from deep mountain aquifers all the way to the parched, waiting cities far below. The tunnels run completely underground, protecting the precious, cold water from the evaporating heat of the sun shining brightly above. A surveyor named Karina mapped a section of a qanat that had flowed continuously for over 2,000 years, marveling at the soft, rhythmic sound of water moving endlessly through the dark rock. The water travels in absolute darkness, moving slowly and patiently, trusting the gentle slope of the tunnel to guide it exactly where it needs to go without ever rushing. There is a deep, abiding peace in moving forward without needing to see the final destination. You can trust the quiet slope of the night to carry you softly into sleep, without needing to know exactly when you will finally arrive. Every 50 or 60 meters along the path of the hidden water, vertical access shafts reach up to the surface like quiet, waiting chimneys breathing in the desert air. From above, these shafts look like a line of gentle craters walking single file across the empty sands, hinting at the secret river flowing silently far below. These openings were essential for the ancient builders to remove the excavated soil, and they later served to let the earth breathe, keeping the deep water forever fresh and cool. An engineer named Dorian calculated that the total length of these hand-dug tunnels in one region alone equals the distance to the moon and back. It is a staggering achievement of quiet, patient labor, done entirely in the cool dark, one gentle strike of the pick at a time, generation after generation. Nothing of great depth is ever built in a sudden rush, but rather in the slow, steady rhythm of consistent, peaceful effort. The heavy work of the day is already done, and And now it is simply time for the long, quiet flow of the night to take over completely. Your jaw might have relaxed, just a fraction without you telling it to, creating a tiny, soft space between your teeth. That is simply the body remembering how to let go of the day, settling deeply into the waiting pillows. In some of the deepest sections of these ancient water channels, the silence is so complete that it almost becomes its own kind of living presence. Without the wind, without the sun, and without the hurried voices of the surface, the only sound is the low, eternal murmur of water sliding smoothly over soft clay. Small, blind fish swim gracefully through these dark currents, navigating perfectly without ever needing to open their eyes to find the light. A biologist named Vesper studied these quiet, pale creatures, noting how they drift through the cold water in a state of perpetual calm suspension, relying entirely on the gentle flow to guide their movements through the hidden caverns. They do not fight the current or search for the distant sun, but rather surrender completely to the dark, finding everything they could ever need in the unhurried depths. There is so much grace to be found in surrendering to the quiet dark, letting the unseen currents of sleep carry you exactly where you need to go. Tomorrow will have its own light, but for now, the gentle dark is more than enough, where the sun seldom reaches beneath the rolling green hills of the Scottish countryside. A quiet mystery has slept for over 2,000 years, known as the earth houses or souterrains. These hidden structures were built by the ancient Picts, sinking softly into the damp earth. They are long, curving stone passages, completely lined with dry stone walls, built entirely without mortar, relying only on the perfect balance of heavy rocks resting against one another. A historian named Galen spent a damp, quiet autumn examining the souterrain at Teeling, noting how the earth above completely masks the presence of the massive stone tunnel below. The entrance is often just a small, unassuming gap in the grass, leading downward into a long, dark curve that gently embraces the traveler. There is a profound sense of safety in a space that hides itself so perfectly from the loud, busy world, asking only for silence. Perhaps, like these hidden stone curves, your mind is finding its own quiet passage away from the noise of the day. You are slipping beneath the surface now, into a place where the air is cool and still. The purpose of these Scottish earth houses remains beautifully unclear, resting comfortably in the realm of quiet speculation. Suggests they were used to store precious grain, keeping the harvest cool and safe from the harsh winter frosts that grip the surface above. Others believe they were temporary hiding places, silent sanctuaries where families could wait out periods of unrest, listening to the heavy thud of footsteps walking directly over their heads without ever being found. An archaeologist named Rowena noted that the tunnels always curved gently to the right, a deliberate design that prevents any sudden draft of cold air from reaching the deepest, most sheltered chambers at the far end. Whatever their purpose, they were built with an incredible dedication to patience and shelter, offering a deeply quiet embrace against the biting winds of the highlands. It is comforting to think that people long ago understood the deep human need to retreat into the quiet dark when the world above became too cold. Your own quiet retreat is here tonight, waiting patiently to hold you softly until the morning comes. Further east, beneath the vast, echoing silence of the Anatolian plateau, the underground city of Cappadocia slumbers peacefully in the volcanic rock, while Derinkuyu reaches deeper down. Cappadocia spreads outward, stretching its quiet corridors far across the subterranean landscape. Only 4 of its massive, sprawling levels are accessible today, but they reveal a stunningly complex world of sleeping quarters, kitchens, and large communal spaces connected by narrow, winding tunnels. An explorer named Idris described Cappadocia as feeling less like a fortress and more like a vast, breathing organism carved entirely from stone, with every tunnel acting as a quiet vein carrying life through the dark. The walls here are sloped gently, softening the edges of the rooms and making the heavy stone feel almost yielding to the touch. It is a place where hundreds of people once lived entirely out of sight, sharing the warmth of small fires and the deep, abiding quiet of the buried earth. There is a strange, comforting beauty in knowing that life can flourish so completely, even when it is entirely hidden from the sun. The deepest parts of yourself are like that, quiet and enduring, needing nothing but rest to remain strong. The kitchens of Kimakli offer a poignant glimpse into the gentle rhythm of daily life spent beneath the earth. Large, communal cooking areas were carved with high vaulted ceilings to catch the smoke, directing it carefully through narrow shafts that filtered up to the unseen surface far above. Small, blackened alcoves still bear the ancient marks of countless cooking fires, where families would gather in the warm, golden light to share a meal in absolute safety. A researcher named Marin found ancient grinding stones left exactly where they had been placed hundreds of years ago, resting quietly in the dust, as if waiting for a pair of hands to return. The scent of roasted grain and warm bread must have filled these stone rooms, creating a profound sense of home in the middle of the deep, surrounding dark. Home is simply the place where the heart is allowed to rest completely, far away from any perceived danger or demand. You can find that quiet sense of home right here, wrapped softly in the heavy blanket of the night. In the deepest recesses of these stone cities, tiny chapels were carved directly into the living rock, providing a place for silent reflection. These spaces are often incredibly small, designed not for grand, booming sermons, but for the quietest, most personal whispers of faith spoken softly in the dark. A traveler named Balthazar sat in one of these cruciform chapels, tracing the faint, faded red ochre crosses painted onto the walls centuries ago, entirely untouched by the wind or rain. The absolute silence of the chapel amplifies the gentlest breath, turning the simplest sigh into a profound sound of peace, echoing softly against the low ceiling. In a world that often demands we speak loudly to be heard, these tiny, weird rooms remind us that the most important thoughts are often barely spoken at all. It is a comfort to know that some spaces are reserved entirely for the quietest parts of our minds. You can let all the loud thoughts fade away now, leaving only the softest, most peaceful whispers to carry you down. Perhaps your eyelids have grown wonderfully heavy, settling downward like soft velvet curtains, closing at the end of a long play. That is simply the body trusting the dark, knowing there is nothing left to watch for tonight. Beyond the chapels, long corridors lead away into parts of the city that have completely collapsed, surrendering back to the slow, crushing embrace of the earth itself. Over centuries, the tectonic plates shift infinitesimally, and the soft volcanic rock gently crumbles, closing the tunnels forever and sealing their ancient secrets in permanent darkness. A geologist named Elowen noted that this is not a violent destruction, but rather a slow, patient reclaiming by the planet, taking back the spaces that were temporarily borrowed by human hands. There is a deep, poetic justice in this slow return, a reminder that all things eventually find their way back to an original, undisturbed state of rest. We too must eventually return our borrowed energy back to the quiet dark at the end of every long day. It is perfectly natural to let the walls of your waking thoughts crumble softly away, surrendering completely to the peaceful, waiting earth. The long day is finally over, and the slow, deep quiet has entirely taken its place. Stone rooms waiting in silence far beneath the busy streets of modern Naples. Another ancient world sleeps quietly in the thick, yellow, tough rock. The Napoli subterranean is a vast, echoing labyrinth of tunnels, caves, and ancient cisterns, carved out by the Greeks and later expanded by the Romans thousands of years ago. Originally, these massive subterranean chambers were created simply by removing stone to build the city walls above, leaving behind massive massive, empty spaces in the cool dark. A historian named Cassio described walking through these cavernous rooms as stepping completely out of the present day and into a space where time has entirely stopped moving. The air down here is heavy and still, smelling faintly of old water and damp earth, entirely separated from the loud, bright chaos of the Mediterranean sun directly above. When you descend into these spaces, the noise of the city fades instantly, replaced only by the soft, rhythmic dripping of condensation falling slowly from the high vaulted ceilings. It is deeply comforting to know that beneath every busy, noisy place, there is a foundation of absolute, enduring quiet waiting to be found. Your mind has its own deep, quiet foundation, resting patiently beneath the busy thoughts of the day. These deep, hollowed-out spaces were eventually repurposed to hold the city's precious water supply, transforming the empty rock into vast, subterranean lakes. For centuries, cool, clear water flowed through these immense cisterns, drawn up by the people above through deep, echoing wells sunk straight down through the stone. The surface of these hidden pools remained perfectly still in the dark, acting like a flawless black mirror that reflected nothing but the rough ceiling above. An engineer named Sylvain studied the waterproof plaster lining these massive tanks, noting how carefully it was applied by ancient hands to ensure not a single drop of the precious water was lost to the surrounding rock. Imagine the deep, abiding silence of that resting water, waiting completely undisturbed in the absolute dark for decades, perhaps centuries, before being brought into the light. There is a profound patience in water that rests so deeply, never rushing toward the sea, simply existing quietly in the cool embrace of the earth. You can let your thoughts settle just like that dark, quiet water, perfectly still and completely unbothered by the passing of time. During the darkest days of the Second World War, these ancient Roman cisterns were drained, and the vast, quiet spaces were asked to provide shelter once again. Thousands of people descended into the deep, tough rock, bringing small beds, quiet conversations, and the desperate hope for safety, while the city above trembled under heavy skies. A local writer named Florian recorded stories of how the profound, heavy silence of the deep rock absorbed the terrifying noise of the outside world, offering a thick blanket of calm to those who waited below. Children slept softly in the ancient Greek quarries, completely unaware of the chaos above, entirely protected by the thick, enduring bones of the earth itself. It is a powerful reminder that the earth is always waiting to offer us a quiet place to hide when the world becomes too loud or too heavy to bear. We all need a safe, quiet place to retreat, a place where the noise of the world is completely muffled by the heavy walls of the night. Your quiet retreat is here, holding you softly until the dawn slowly returns. Let us move onward together in the sweeping, arid plains of the American Southwest. The ancestral Puebloans built their own kind of hidden architecture, sinking perfectly round roofs deep into the desert floor. These subterranean ceremonial chambers, known as kivas, were sacred spaces, built entirely below ground level and entered only by descending a wooden ladder through a small hole in the roof. Inside, the walls were lined with smooth, carefully placed stones, and the center of the floor held a small, shallow fire pit for warmth and light during the cold desert nights. An anthropologist named Elsinore spent a winter studying a beautifully preserved kiva in Chaco Canyon, noting how perfectly it insulated the occupants from the howling, freezing winds racing across the mesa above. The circular design created a space where sound traveled smoothly, turning a softly spoken story into a warm, echoing presence that filled the entire room. There is something deeply grounding about sitting in a perfect circle beneath the surface of the earth, surrounded by the quiet hum of shared stillness. You are in your own quiet circle now, safe from the cold winds of the day, resting warmly in the center of the night. At the very center of the kiva floor is a small, carefully placed hole known as the sipapu, symbolizing the ancient portal through which the first people emerged from the deepest world below. It is not a large opening, just a small, quiet interruption in the packed earth, representing a profound connection to the deep, unseen places of the earth itself. The sipapu is a gentle reminder that we are all deeply tethered to the ground beneath us, connected to something far older and far more patient than our own brief, busy lives. A researcher named Oren observed that even when the kivas were abandoned and filled with drifting sand, the sipapu remained, a quiet symbol of origins waiting patiently in the dark. It is comforting to think about our deep, unbreakable connection to the quiet earth, knowing that it is always there, waiting softly beneath our feet to support us completely. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore, Luna. The quiet earth is right here, ready to hold you completely as you let go. Perhaps you notice a pleasant, heavy warmth gathering slowly in the palms of your hands, as if you are gently holding a perfectly smooth, sun-warmed stone. This is simply the quiet energy of the day settling down, preparing to rest completely for the long night ahead. As the centuries passed, the wooden roofs of these ancient kivas slowly collapsed, allowing the desert sand to drift gently down and fill the quiet, circular rooms. The earth slowly reclaimed what had been carved from it, packing the spaces tightly with fine, red dust, preserving the stone walls in absolute, motionless silence for hundreds of years. An archaeologist named Lyrian meticulously cleared the sand from one such kiva, discovering that the lack of air and light had preserved everything exactly as it had been left on the very last day it was used. This gentle filling of space is not a destruction, but rather a perfect preservation, an act of the earth holding onto a memory so tightly that time itself is forced to stop. There is a deep peace in being held so completely by the stillness, allowing everything to stop moving and simply rest exactly where it is. You can allow the quiet sand of sleep to drift gently over your own thoughts now, filling the spaces and bringing everything to a perfect, unbroken stop. The long day is finally over, and the slow, deep quiet has entirely taken its place. The gentle echoes of Derinkuyu, the uppermost levels of Derinkuyu, were gently given over to the animals, because livestock required more fresh air, and their heavy warmth was deeply comforting to the people below. The first and second subterranean floors were carefully carved into incredibly spacious stables. Stone mangers were smoothed directly into the walls, perfectly shaped to hold dry hay and quiet, resting heads. A historian named Keelan spent days mapping these upper enclosures, noting how the rock naturally retained the gentle heat produced by sheep and oxen during the incredibly cold Anatolian winters. Tethering posts were bored cleanly through the soft, tough rock, worn perfectly smooth over countless generations by the slow, swaying movements of sleeping animals, tied softly in the dark. The low ceilings in these specific areas created a deeply protective embrace, ensuring the valuable herds were kept safe from the freezing winds howling across the plains above. It is a warm, peaceful thought to imagine the slow, rhythmic breathing of resting animals echoing softly down the ancient, dusty hallways. There is a simple, unspoken comfort in sharing the quiet dark with gentle creatures who only know how to rest completely when the long day is finally done. Soft, sweet scents once filled these upper stone corridors, lingering patiently in the cool, still air. Alongside the quiet stables, wide, shallow basins were meticulously carved by hand for the crushing of grapes and the slow, patient fermentation of wine. The stone floors of these ancient vats were angled beautifully, allowing the heavy, dark juice to trickle slowly into deep, waiting jars buried safely in the solid rock. An archaeologist named Andi discovered over a dozen of these hidden wineries scattered throughout the quiet region, marveling at how the perpetually cool temperature of the underground city created the absolute perfect environment for wine to settle and age beautifully. The work done here was absolutely never rushed, but rather paced entirely by the slow, natural transformation of the autumn harvest, sinking quietly into something richer and far more complex over time. It takes an immense amount of patience to wait for something to reach its deepest, finest state in the complete and absolute dark. You too are allowed to take your time tonight, sinking slowly into the rich, restorative quiet of the deep night, without any need to hurry or rush the natural, gentle process of sleep. The ancient builders understood the profound human need for continuous, gentle connection. Even while separated by thick layers of heavy volcanic rock, families could still reach each other through tiny, brilliant communication channels carved carefully into the stone floors. These were small holes, perhaps only 10 centimeters wide, bored straight down through the solid stone ceilings to connect the sleeping quarters resting above and below. A surveyor named Valdez carefully tested these narrow shafts and found that a softly spoken word on the third level would travel effortlessly down to the fourth, arriving as a beautifully clear, gentle whisper in the absolute dark. These small, unseen openings allowed the buried residents to share soft news, pass down quiet comfort, and simply remind one another that they were never truly alone in the vast earth. It is deeply reassuring to know that no matter how deep you go, there is always a way to send a soft word through the heavy stone to find a waiting ear. The connections that matter most do not need to be loud or grand to be felt completely. You can let the gentle murmurs of the night carry you softly downward, knowing you are safe. A quiet space for learning rests peacefully on the second floor of the buried city. This room is wonderfully distinct from the others, featuring a beautiful barrel vaulted ceiling that arches smoothly over long, heavy stone benches carved directly from the solid floor. It is widely believed to be an ancient religious school, a place where soft voices repeated quiet lessons by the gentle, flickering light of small oil lamps resting in the walls. A scholar named Aldous traced the faint grooves worn deeply into the benches, visualizing the countless students who sat patiently in the cool, still air, committing ancient words entirely to memory. Adjacent to this main hall are several smaller, much quieter rooms where individuals could retreat to study completely alone. Wrapped entirely in the muffling silence of the pale, chalky tuff, learning in such a profoundly quiet place would require absolutely no strain, only the calm reception of knowledge, sinking deeply into an undisturbed mind. There is no need to study or learn anything tonight, Atlas. You have full permission to empty your tired mind entirely, letting all the heavy, old lessons fade gently into the wonderfully waiting stone that comfortably surrounds you right now. The very bottom of the ancient city touches a quiet, completely unseen river. A massive central well shaft drops straight down through the very heart of Derinkuyu, reaching a staggering depth of 55 meters to gently access the cool, waiting water table. Interestingly, this main vertical shaft was deliberately not connected to the surface world above, a brilliant design choice that prevented anyone outside from ever poisoning the hidden sanctuary, resting safely below. An explorer named Everett noted that the water resting at the bottom of this deep, dark plunge is remarkably clear, filtered to absolute perfection by the miles of porous volcanic rock layered heavily above it, dropping a wooden bucket all the way down into that absolute darkness would take immense patience, followed eventually by the soft, distant splash of arriving at the life source of the entire buried world. Water that waits that deep is wonderfully still, holding its cold, pure essence quietly without ever needing to see the sun. Your own deepest self is exactly like that hidden water, perfectly clear, endlessly patient, and completely undisturbed by the spinning, noisy world resting far above your heavy, sleepy head tonight. The city slept entirely forgotten for centuries, wrapped safely in the patient embrace of the deep earth. It was not until the year 1963 that a local resident, quietly renovating his surface-level home, knocked down a simple basement wall and discovered a dark, waiting corridor hidden just behind it. He had absolutely no idea he had just opened the door to a massive subterranean world that had rested in perfect, unbroken silence for over a millennium. A historian named Siren described this gentle rediscovery as a quiet miracle, a beautiful moment when the distant past reached out softly to shake hands with the present day. The earth had kept the carved city incredibly safe, holding the heavy walls steady and the long corridors perfectly clear, simply waiting for the right moment to share its deep, echoing quiet once again. There are forgotten, quiet places inside all of us, resting patiently behind simple walls, waiting only for us to stop rushing and finally notice them. You can step softly into your own forgotten quiet right now, closing the door on the waking world and wandering peacefully into the beautifully welcoming dark, hidden sanctuaries deep beneath the gently sloping hills of central France. Another quiet mystery has slept for centuries. The subterranean monolithic church of Saint Jean in Aubeterre-sur-Dronne is not built from stone blocks stacked upward, but was instead hollowed directly out of a massive limestone cliff face. In the early 12th century, patient hands carved an enormous soaring cavern completely downwards into the solid white rock, creating a space that feels both vast and incredibly sheltered. A visitor named Elowan described stepping into the church as walking directly into the quiet, hollowed-out chest of the mountain itself. The ceiling arches beautifully overhead, supported by massive, unpolished stone pillars left seamlessly attached to the bedrock floor, anchoring the entire space in absolute stillness. There is no wind here, no sudden change in temperature, only the heavy, unchanging presence of the earth wrapping completely around the quiet air. When you are held by something so massive and patient, there is simply nothing else left to do but finally let go of all your own heavy, tired weight and simply rest. The light inside this carved sanctuary behaves differently than it does in the bright, open world because the space is entirely subterranean. Sunlight can only enter through a few carefully carved windows piercing the thick cliff face high above the deeply shadowed floor. These narrow openings catch the morning sun and funnel it downwards, creating thick, solid beams of pale light that cut slowly through the cool, dusty air. An artist named Julian spent hours watching these quiet sunbeams slowly track across the rough limestone walls, noting how the light seemed to move with an unhurried, glacial patience. The light does not rush to fill the room, but rather touches small, specific areas softly, leaving the rest of the vast space in deeply comforting, cool shadows. There is a beautiful safety in the shadows, a place where the eyes do not need to work to see, and the mind does not need to analyze. You can let the bright beams of your waking thoughts fade entirely away now, allowing the cool, gentle shadows of sleep to stretch comfortably across your beautifully resting mind. Deep within the floor of this buried church lies an extraordinary, silent monument to ancient reverence. Carved directly into the limestone floor is an enormous reliquary, a massive hexagonal pit reaching deep into the rock, designed entirely to hold quiet memories of the past. It was designed to mimic the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, serving as a symbolic resting place completely insulated from the noise and weather of the surface world above. A historian named Branwell noted the incredible dedication required to carve a grave within a grave, sinking even deeper into the earth to find the absolute purest center of stillness. The stone here feels incredibly heavy and completely immovable, anchoring the space with a profound sense of permanence that is deeply soothing to a tired spirit. It is a profound comfort to know that some things simply never move, never change, and never ask anything of the world spinning rapidly above them. You can anchor yourself to that heavy, unchanging stillness tonight, letting it hold you perfectly secure while the night slowly passes around your resting form. You might feel a slight, gentle heaviness gathering warmly across the back of your shoulders right now. That is just the tension of the day finally realizing it is safe to completely dissolve into the soft mattress beneath you, half the world away. Hidden deep in the humid jungles of Belize, the ancient Maya found their own profound connection to the underground. The cave of Archaeological, often called the Cave of the Crystal Sepulchre, extends deep into the damp limestone of the Tapir Mountain Nature Reserve. For the Maya, caves were not merely geological formations, but the literal, physical entrances to Xibalba, the deeply sacred and mysterious underworld where the gods resided in quiet darkness. An archaeologist named Caleb mapped the twisting, submerged entrance, noting that reaching the dry chambers requires swimming softly through a deep, cold river that flows completely underground. To enter the cave is to leave the bright, noisy jungle entirely behind, transitioning slowly into a realm of eternal twilight and gently echoing, dripping water. The transition into sleep is very much like wading softly into a cool, quiet underground river, leaving the bright noise behind to float peacefully in the dark. You are floating softly right now, perfectly supported by the gentle, dark current carrying you slowly away. Deep within the furthest chambers of this jungle cave, the artifacts of ancient visitors have been slowly, beautifully transformed by the earth itself. Over centuries of absolute stillness, calcium carbonate has gently dripped from the ceiling, slowly coating the ancient pottery and the quiet remains of those who journeyed into the dark. This slow accumulation of minerals has crystallized over hundreds of years, turning everything it touches into a sparkling, pale stone perfectly blended with the cave floor. A caver named Harvin described seeing an ancient clay vessel completely encased in this glittering calcite, looking as though the earth had gently swallowed it whole, turning it to beautiful, sleeping stone. It is a slow, patient process of returning things to the earth, making them an inseparable part of the profound quiet that fills the massive, hollowed-out room. The earth has a beautiful way of softening everything over time, wrapping sharp edges in a quiet, sparkling blanket of rest. You can let the soft blanket of the night slowly wrap around your own thoughts, softening everything until all that remains is a peaceful, glittering quiet. The silence inside Archaeological is so absolute that the sound of a single drop of water hitting a stone pool feels remarkably loud. Without the wind rustling through the trees or the calls of jungle birds, the ears eventually adjust to the profound lack of noise, finding deep comfort in the slow, rhythmic dripping echoing softly from the distant shadows. This deep quiet is not empty, but rather perfectly full, saturated entirely with the slow, ancient patience of the dripping water and the slowly forming stone. A researcher named Lindara sat entirely in the dark for an hour, recording how her own breathing eventually slowed to completely match the calm, unhurried rhythm of the falling water droplets, softly hitting the pools below. When the world is completely silent, the body naturally remembers its own deepest, quietest rhythm, settling down to match the immense, slow pulse of the earth itself. You can find that slow, steady rhythm within yourself tonight, breathing in absolute time with the quiet, waiting earth beneath you. Vast rooms carved by hand in the sweeping plains of Andalusia, Spain, beneath the bright sun and olive groves. Another ancient silence slumbers in the cool earth. The subterranean complex of the Cueva de los Murciélagos, or the Cave of the Bats, was completely transformed by human hands over 5,000 years ago. Neolithic farmers seeking shelter slowly expanded the natural limestone fissures, carving out large, rounded chambers perfectly insulated from the brutal summer heat and the biting winter winds. Archaeologist named Dorian spent months carefully brushing away layers of fine, dry dust, uncovering perfectly preserved woven esparto grass baskets left resting gently against the cool stone walls. The earth here is astonishingly dry, absorbing all moisture and preserving organic materials exactly as they were placed by careful, ancient hands thousands of years ago. It is incredibly comforting to know that the earth can hold on to things so gently, keeping them safe and entirely undisturbed in the quiet dark. While entire civilizations rise and fall far above, you can safely place all your heavy thoughts down tonight, knowing the quiet dark will hold them gently for you until the morning. These ancient Spanish caverns were not merely practical shelters, but places of profound, quiet reverence for those who had passed on. Deep within the furthest chambers, completely removed from any trace of natural light, ancient families laid their ancestors softly to rest. They were placed carefully in a circle around a central pillar of uncarved stone, wrapped warmly in beautifully woven grass tunics and wearing delicate, fragile crowns made from dried poppy heads. A researcher named Isolde marveled at the immense tenderness of this arrangement, noting how the sleeping figures were positioned to gently face one another, as if continuing a soft, eternal conversation in the absolute dark. The poppy, long symbol of deep, unbroken sleep, speaks quietly of a culture that understood death not as an end, but as a profound, peaceful resting state held safely within the earth. There is a deep beauty in viewing rest as a sacred communal act, a quiet gathering in the deeply comforting dark. You are joining that quiet gathering of rest now, settling softly into your own deep, unbroken sleep. Let us move onward together, far across the ocean. Hidden deep within the dense forests of the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas lies a massive subterranean world known as Blanchard Springs Caverns. While not carved by human hands, the sheer scale of these natural underground rooms feels deeply architectural, sculpted entirely by the slow, patient movement of an underground river over millions of years. The water carved out enormous, echoing halls, some reaching over 80 feet high, filled completely with towering, silent columns of slowly dripping limestone. The geologist named Calum described the central chamber, known as the cathedral room, as possessing an acoustic perfection that makes a softly spoken word travel cleanly and warmly for hundreds of feet through the cool, damp air. The immense size of the space makes you feel wonderfully small, instantly absorbing all personal worries into the vast, ancient quiet of the slowly forming stone. It is deeply relaxing to remember that some spaces are simply too old and too large to care about the small, hurried problems of the waking world. You can let the vastness of the night absorb all your small worries, leaving you perfectly empty and ready to completely rest. The rock formations inside these Ozark caverns grow at an almost incomprehensibly slow pace, demanding absolute patience from anyone trying to understand them. A single cubic inch of calcite might take a century to form, built entirely by the slow, continuous dripping of water carrying microscopic amounts of dissolved limestone from the surface far above. A scientist named Alara measured the slow drip of a single stalactite, calculating that it had been falling at exactly the same steady, unhurried rhythm for over 10,000 years. There is absolutely no rush here, no sudden movements, only the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of water hitting stone, building an ancient masterpiece, one tiny, invisible drop at a time. This kind of patience is deeply soothing to a mind that has been rushing all day, offering a gentle reminder that the most beautiful things take immense time to form in the quiet dark. You have all the time in the world to fall asleep tonight, with absolutely no need to rush the slow, gentle process of drifting away. Within the very deepest sections of the Blanchard Spring system, an entirely different kind of absolute stillness can be found. In these remote chambers, completely disconnected from the active underground river, the air is so incredibly still that dust settles perfectly straight down, without the slightest breeze to disturb its gentle fall. Fragile, needle-like formations called helictites grow in wildly unpredictable directions, curling and twisting softly outwards because there is absolutely no air current to guide them. A caver named Theron sat completely motionless in one of these rooms, noting that the silence was so profound he could clearly hear the steady, calming rhythm of his own heartbeat echoing softly in his ears. When you are surrounded by such absolute, unchanging stillness, your own body naturally slows down to completely match the unhurried environment embracing it. You can let the absolute stillness of your quiet room embrace you right now, allowing your heart to find its own slow, gentle rhythm. Perhaps you can feel the very gentle weight of your own eyelids right now, resting softly together without any effort at all. It is simply the body closing the curtains on the day, trusting the dark completely. The temperature deep within these natural limestone cathedrals never changes, remaining at a perfectly steady 14 degrees Celsius, regardless of the season raging outside, whether the forest above is completely buried in freezing winter snow or baking under the harsh summer sun. The deep caverns hold their cool, quiet breath, offering an environment of absolute, unwavering consistency. A climate researcher named Rowena placed delicate thermometers throughout the cave system, verifying that the heavy layers of rock provide perfect insulation, creating a deeply comforting sanctuary completely immune to the passing of time or the changing of weather. There is immense comfort in a place that absolutely never changes, offering a perfectly reliable, unchanging embrace every single time you return to it. Your bed is your own unchanging sanctuary, waiting patiently all day to offer you exactly the same soft, quiet comfort tonight. The world outside may change, but the gentle embrace of the night is always perfectly waiting for you. The world beneath the mountains, deep within the majestic, snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas. The ancient kingdom of Mustang hides an incredible secret carved directly into the sheer cliff faces. Thousands of man-made caves, known locally as the Sky Caves, are entirely hollowed out of the fragile, sandy-colored rock, hovering hundreds of feet above the winding river valley below. These silent chambers were dug entirely by hand roughly 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, requiring immense patience and balance to carve rooms into the sheer vertical drop. An explorer named Leander spent weeks climbing carefully into these high, quiet spaces, discovering small, soot-blackened hearths and perfectly preserved sleeping ledges resting safely near the back walls. The air up here is incredibly thin and wonderfully crisp, entirely free from the heavy moisture of the lowlands, carrying only the soft, distant sound of the wind moving slowly through the massive gorge. There is a profound sense of elevation and detachment in sleeping so high above the world, completely removed from the loud, busy flow of life taking place far below on the valley floor. You can elevate your own thoughts tonight, floating gently above the noise of the day, resting safely in your own high, quiet place. The purpose of these high, windy caves shifted slowly as the centuries passed quietly by. Originally carved as safe, hidden homes for families seeking shelter from the fierce Himalayan winters, they eventually transformed into incredibly quiet, isolated sanctuaries for deep meditation. Buddhist monks climbed the treacherous rock faces to reach the highest, most secluded caves, seeking a profound silence that could only be found completely suspended between the earth and the endless sky. A scholar named Nayam translated ancient texts found in a nearby monastery, describing how the monks would sit entirely motionless in the dark caves for months, listening only to the slow, steady rhythm of their own breathing and the distant wind. To retreat into such absolute isolation requires a deep trust in the quiet, a belief that the greatest peace is found when all outward distractions are finally completely removed. You can find that exact same peace right now by simply letting all outward distractions fade away, trusting the deep, quiet dark to hold you perfectly. Inside some of the most remote sky caves, incredibly fragile beauty has survived the slow, relentless passing of centuries. Delicate, beautifully detailed murals were painted directly onto the soft, crumbling walls, depicting serene, resting faces illuminated entirely by the soft light of ancient butter lamps. These colors, created from crushed lapis lazuli, bright malachite, and deep red ochre, have remained astonishingly vibrant in the absolute dry, still air of the high-altitude chambers. An art historian named Cassia carefully documented a painting of a softly sleeping figure, noting how the artist used incredibly gentle, unhurried brushstrokes to convey a profound sense of perfect, eternal rest. The faces in the dark ask absolutely nothing of the viewer, simply existing in a state of quiet grace, completely undisturbed by the howling winds just outside the narrow rock window. It is comforting to know that beauty can endure so perfectly in the dark, waiting patiently for hundreds of years without ever needing to be seen. Your own quiet grace is waiting for you now, needing no audience, simply resting beautifully in the gentle dark. Further west, beneath the towering, jagged peaks of the Swiss Alps, a completely different kind of underground world slumbers deeply in the freezing rock. Deep beneath the Plaine Morte Glacier, an enormous network of ice caves is slowly, constantly being carved by the patient, unhurried flow of freezing meltwater. Unlike caves carved from heavy stone, these tunnels are entirely luminous, glowing with a soft, ethereal blue light as the sun filters gently down through hundreds of feet of solid, ancient ice. A glaciologist named Soren walked softly through these freezing corridors, describing the deeply muffled, heavy silence that blankets everyone. As the thick ice naturally absorbs every single sound, the walls are perfectly smooth and glass-like, curving beautifully as if the very breath of the mountain had instantly frozen into a solid, sheltering wave. Being surrounded by so much ancient, slow-moving ice offers a profound, deep chill that beautifully contrasts with the warm, heavy blankets resting safely over your own body tonight. The cold remains safely outside, while you are perfectly warm, completely sheltered in your own quiet space. The ice forming these massive alpine caves is incredibly old, holding tiny, perfectly preserved bubbles of air that were trapped thousands of years ago. When the snow first fell on the high peaks, it slowly compacted over centuries, trapping microscopic pockets of the ancient atmosphere forever in the deep blue ice. A researcher named Maren delicately extracted a core sample from the cavern wall, explaining that the ice is literally a frozen memory of the sky, holding a time when the world was much quieter and entirely different. There is a deep, quiet poetry in knowing that the very air breathed by ancient people is still resting peacefully inside the ice, completely untouched by the busy modern world. The past does not vanish completely. It simply finds a quiet place to rest, freezing perfectly into a memory that no longer needs to be carried. You can let all the memories of today gently freeze and settle now, leaving them safely behind as you drift slowly forward into sleep. The shape of the ice caves changes with an incredibly slow, deliberate grace as the massive glacier creeps infinitely down the mountain. What is a wide, soaring hall 1 century might slowly, patiently compress into a narrow, winding corridor the next, all moving with a heavy, unstoppable slowness. An observer named Finian noted that standing in the deep ice cave requires completely surrendering to a different scale of time, one that moves so slowly, it appears entirely motionless to the human eye. The ice never rushes, never hurries its heavy descent, simply yielding beautifully to the immense, slow pressure of the mountain itself. It is deeply relaxing to match your own breathing to a pace so incredibly slow, remembering that not everything needs to happen quickly, and some things are best done with immense geological patience. You can take all the time you need to fall asleep tonight, moving with the same slow, patient grace as the ancient shifting ice. Your shoulders may have dropped a little without you asking them to, sinking warmly into the soft mattress beneath you. That is the body doing what it has always known how to do, trusting the heavy, safe feeling of the quiet night. And so we continue, tunnels that remember the rain beneath the incredibly ancient, sun-baked city of Rome. A completely silent river of history slumbers quietly in the dark. The Cloaca Maxima, originally constructed as an open-air canal in the 6th century before the Common Era, was eventually covered entirely with heavy stone vaults, transforming it into a massive subterranean waterway for over 2.5 millennia. This incredible feat of engineering has patiently carried water beneath the bustling, noisy streets, completely unseen and largely forgotten by the millions walking above. A historian named Caius spent a quiet afternoon standing near the ancient stone outfall at the Tiber River, listening to the slow, heavy echo of water that had traveled for miles through complete darkness. The massive hand-cut tufa blocks forming the arched ceiling are blackened with age, yet they remain perfectly solid, holding the immense weight of the entire eternal city resting upon them. It is deeply comforting to think of something functioning so perfectly, so quietly, for thousands of years without ever needing the bright light of the sun to guide it. You have your own deep currents moving quietly within you, completely unseen but perfectly reliable, carrying you softly toward a deep, unbroken rest. The construction of these massive underground vaults required an absolutely staggering amount of patience and precise, unhurried calculation. Huge wooden centuries had to be carefully built in the damp mud to support the enormous wedge-shaped stones until the final heavy keystone was gently lowered into its perfect resting place. Once that final stone was securely locked, the wooden frames were slowly removed, leaving the massive stone arch to hold its own incredible weight entirely through the perfect balance of pressure. An engineer named Celine marveled at the absolute perfection of this ancient design, noting that gravity itself is what holds the heavy stones so safely and securely together. When pressure is perfectly balanced, it ceases to be a burden and instead becomes the very thing that creates profound, enduring stability. You can let the gentle, balanced pressure of your own comfortable blankets create that same profound stability for you tonight, holding you perfectly safe and warm. During periods of heavy, unrelenting rain, the deep tunnels of the Cloaca Maxima quietly accept the massive influx of water without any hesitation. The rushing water from the hillsides above is funneled smoothly into the dark, echoing chambers, guided perfectly by the ancient, gentle slope of the carefully laid stone floor. A hydrogeologist named Evander placed acoustic sensors deep within the oldest sections of the tunnel, recording the incredibly soothing, deep rumble of millions of gallons of water moving swiftly but safely away from the fragile city above. The tunnels simply allow the heavy weather to pass through them, absorbing the excess energy and quietly carrying it out to the waiting, peaceful river. It is a beautiful metaphor for how we can allow the heavy, difficult thoughts of the day to simply flow through us without holding on to them or trying to stop their gentle passing. You can let all the busy noise of the day simply flow away into the dark now, leaving your mind perfectly clean and wonderfully quiet. Deep beneath the rolling green hills of the English countryside, another intricate network of tunnels sleeps quietly in the pale chalk. The Chislehurst Caves are a massive, meandering labyrinth spanning over 22 miles, entirely dug by hand over centuries of slow, patient flint mining. The air inside these sprawling, carved chalk corridors remains at a perfectly constant 10 degrees Celsius, holding a gentle, damp stillness that instantly absorbs the loud noise of the outside world. The local archivist named Calliope described the profound, thick silence found in the deepest sections of the mine as feeling almost like a physical blanket wrapping softly around your entire body. without the wind, without the sun, and without the hurried voices of the busy surface. The absolute lack of sensory input allows the mind to completely stop working and finally begin to rest. It is a profound relief to step into a place where absolutely nothing is required of your attention, where you can simply exist in the soft, uncomplicated dark. Your own quiet room is offering you that exact same profound relief right now. The walls of these deeply buried chalk mines still bear the distinct, rhythmic marks of the ancient antler picks used to slowly scrape away the soft, white stone. You can easily trace the gentle, arcing movements of the miner's hands, completely preserved in the rock as if the work had only finished yesterday, rather than thousands of years ago. It was incredibly slow, deliberate labor, done entirely by the soft, flickering light of small, smoky lamps, moving forward just a few careful inches every single day. A researcher named Sylvain carefully measured the exact angle of these ancient tool marks, noting how the repetitive, unhurried motion must have felt almost meditative in the absolute, echoing quiet of the deep earth. There is a deep, abiding peace in slow, repetitive action, a gentle rhythm that completely calms the mind and softly lulls the spirit towards sleep. You do not need to accomplish anything tonight. You only need to follow the slow, gentle rhythm of your own steady breathing. In the early 20th century, these vast, completely silent caves found a beautiful, unexpected new purpose as a quiet sanctuary for the cultivation of mushrooms. The absolute darkness, combined with the perfectly consistent, damp air, created an ideal environment for the delicate, pale fungi to grow slowly and peacefully. Countless wooden trays were carefully laid out along the miles of empty, echoing corridors, filled with dark, rich earth that smelled beautifully of damp forests and autumn rain. Botanist named Thessaly visited the remaining subterranean beds, noting how perfectly silent the growth process is, happening entirely without the need for bright sunlight or harsh, changing seasons. Things that grow in the dark do so with a profound, quiet grace, needing only the absolute minimum to thrive beautifully in the cool stillness. You are also growing and restoring yourself in the dark tonight, slowly gathering quiet strength for the day that will eventually softly come. Breathing lungs of the soil in the deeply forested, rolling hills of southern Germany, an entirely different, incredibly mysterious type of underground architecture waits quietly in the damp soil. Known as the Erdstall, these ancient, incredibly narrow tunnels are found completely hidden beneath the roots of old trees and the heavy stone floors of forgotten rural chapels. They were not designed for comfortable living or grand, echoing ceremonies, but rather as impossibly tight, winding passages that force the traveler to move incredibly slowly, often crawling on hands and knees. A historian named Balthazar spent a damp, quiet week exploring several of these deeply buried passages in Bavaria, noting how the walls press closely inwards, offering a feeling of profound, womb-like enclosure. The tunnels often feature sudden, incredibly narrow squeeze points called schlupfe, requiring a person to completely exhale and surrender entirely to the heavy rock just to pass gently through. There is a deep psychological release in finally realizing you cannot force your way forward, but must instead soften completely and allow the earth to hold you securely. You can soften yourself exactly like that tonight, releasing all resistance and simply letting the soft bed completely support your resting weight. The true purpose of these ancient German tunnels remains beautifully, completely unresolved, resting comfortably as a perfectly silent mystery, because no artifacts, no burials, and absolutely no signs of daily living have ever been found inside. They exist entirely as empty, waiting spaces carved softly into the dark earth. Scholars believe they were built as temporary, quiet hiding places during sudden times of localized danger, a place to disappear completely beneath the forest floor until the noise above finally passed. A folklorist named Vesper gathered incredibly old local stories, suggesting the tunnels were built to house the quiet spirits of the ancestors, offering them a safe, dark place to rest peacefully near the living. Whatever their true origin, they were built with an astonishing dedication to absolute secrecy, completely invisible from the bright, busy world resting just a few feet above. It is profoundly comforting to know that some secrets are meant to be kept forever, resting safely undisturbed in the quiet dark. Your mind has its own deep, quiet spaces where thoughts can simply rest, completely safe from the need to be understood or explained. Let us move onward together. Further south, beneath the sun-baked, rocky landscape of the island of Malta, the hypogeum of Il Saflieni sleeps perfectly undisturbed in the ancient limestone. This massive subterranean structure dates back over 5,000 years and was entirely carved downward through three incredibly distinct, carefully planned levels. The builders used incredibly simple tools made of heavy, rounded flint and deer antlers, slowly and patiently scraping away the soft, golden rock over countless quiet generations. Archaeologist named Florian spent years carefully mapping the incredibly complex acoustics of the middle level, noting how the softly curved walls perfectly catch and amplify the deepest, most resonant tones of the human voice. Single low hum, spoken in the central chamber, will gently vibrate through the entire buried complex, wrapping the listener in a thick, physical blanket of warm, resonant sound. This deep, low frequency is naturally soothing to the human nervous system, closely mimicking the deep, safe rumble of a completely relaxed heartbeat. You can let the quiet, steady rhythm of your own heart become your gentle focus now, vibrating softly and peacefully through your resting body. The walls of the hypogeum are beautifully decorated with incredibly complex, interwoven spirals painted softly in red ochre. These ancient designs do not depict animals or hunting scenes, but rather abstract, flowing patterns that seem to mimic the slow, endless turning of time, or the gentle swirling of deep water. The red pigment has faded beautifully over 5 millennia, softly sinking into the porous limestone until it appears to be a natural, gentle blush on the pale stone itself. The researcher named Merrill traced these fading lines with a soft light, observing how the spirals naturally draw the eye inward, gently guiding the mind toward a state of deep, quiet contemplation. The continuous, unbroken lines suggest that everything is perfectly connected, moving smoothly from one quiet moment to the next without any sharp edges or sudden stops. Your own transition into sleep is exactly like that softly painted spiral, moving beautifully inward, slowly and smoothly, without any sudden edges. Deep within the lowest level of the hypogeum lies a small, completely unadorned chamber known simply as the Holy of Holies. This room is considered the absolute center of the entire underground complex, carved with incredibly precise architectural details that mimic the massive, open-air temples standing far above on the island's surface. However, unlike the bright, sunlit temples above, this room is wrapped in absolute, unbroken darkness and profound, heavy silence. A visitor named Endymion noted that standing in this deepest room feels entirely like arriving at the very center of a massive, slowly turning wheel, the one point that remains perfectly, completely still while everything else moves. It is the absolute destination of the entire subterranean journey, a place built entirely for profound, undisturbed rest at the deepest possible level. You have reached your own deep, quiet center now, the perfectly still point where absolutely no effort is required. Perhaps you notice a pleasant, heavy warmth gathering slowly in the palms of your hands, as if you are gently holding a perfectly smooth, sun-warmed stone. This is simply the quiet energy of the day settling down, preparing to rest completely for the long night ahead. The discovery of the hypogeum happened entirely by accident in the year 1902, when local construction workers quietly broke through a roof while digging a simple cistern. They found themselves staring down into a vast, incredibly quiet space that had been completely sealed away from the noise and light of the world for thousands of years. A historian named Isol described the moment of discovery as a gentle awakening, a perfectly preserved pocket of ancient time softly breathing the fresh surface air for the very first time in millennia. It is beautifully reassuring to know that the earth can protect something so fragile and so ancient, holding it perfectly safe in the dark until it is finally ready to be found. The deepest, quietest parts of yourself are also perfectly protected, waiting patiently for the moment you finally stop rushing and allow yourself to simply rest. The long day is over, and the safe, quiet dark is entirely yours. Footsteps fading into the rock beneath the softly rolling, deeply forested hills of the Moravian Karst in the Czech Republic. An entirely natural labyrinth of profound silence waits in the limestone. The Punkva caves were slowly, patiently hollowed out by the quiet, unhurried flow of the subterranean Punkva River over millions of years. Unlike the caves carved by human hands, these vast chambers were shaped entirely by the soft, persistent touch of cold water moving through the absolute dark. An explorer named Leander navigated the completely black underground river in a small, silent boat, describing the journey as a profound surrender to the gentle, unseen current pulling softly from below. The water is incredibly still, reflecting the massive, ancient stalactites hanging heavily from the ceiling like a perfect, flawless mirror made of dark glass. When you allow yourself to be carried by something so quiet and so steady, all the frantic energy of the waking world simply dissolves into the deep, echoing space. You're being gently carried exactly like that right now, floating smoothly on the quiet current of the night. The temperature deep within the Punkva system remains incredibly cool and perfectly constant, hovering dependably around 8 degrees Celsius all year long. This absolute thermal stability creates a deeply comforting environment, entirely disconnected from the changing seasons and the unpredictable weather raging far above the thick rock ceiling. A geologist named Elwin noted that when you spend enough time in this unchanging cold, the heavy warmth of your own breath becomes incredibly apparent, a soft, rhythmic reminder of your own quiet life, suspended in the dark. The cold air naturally encourages the body to seek warmth, making the heavy, comfortable blankets resting over you right now feel even more perfectly protective. You do not need to generate any more energy tonight. You only need to absorb the gentle warmth of your own quiet resting place. At the very heart of the Punkva cave system lies the incredible Makocha Abyss, a massive, ancient sinkhole where the ceiling of the underground world finally, softly gave way to the sky. Standing at the bottom of this immense, open shaft, you can look straight up through hundreds of feet of heavily shadowed rock to see a tiny, distant circle of the bright surface world far above. A botanist named Sylvan described standing at the damp floor of the abyss, noting how completely insignificant the loud, busy world feels when viewed from such a profound, quiet depth. The bright sky looks like a beautiful, fragile memory, something pleasant but entirely unnecessary to the deep, enduring peace found at the bottom of the ancient stone well. The problems of the day look exactly like that distant circle of light, now small, completely detached, and safely far away. Your mind is resting safely at the bottom, perfectly surrounded by the comforting, heavy rock, deep beneath the sunlit, bustling streets of modern-day Paris. A completely silent mirror of the city slumbers patiently in the pale limestone. The catacombs of Paris are a massive, intricately winding network of ancient quarries, originally dug hundreds of years ago to extract the heavy white stone needed to build the bright capital above. These sprawling, empty tunnels eventually became the final, quiet resting place for millions of souls their bones arranged with an incredible slow patience into beautifully neat, silent walls. A historian named Corinna walked miles through these dimly lit corridors, noting how the absolute stillness of the deep quarries profoundly absorbs the unimaginable noise of the millions of people living and driving directly overhead. The contrast is astonishing. A city moving at incredible speed, just a few feet above a city resting in absolute, eternal, unbroken stillness. We all carry this beautiful contrast within ourselves. A busy, rushing surface hiding a deep, fundamentally quiet core. You are sinking down into your own quiet core right now, leaving the noise entirely behind. The arrangement of the bones within the catacombs is not haphazard, but rather displays a profound, deeply respectful artistry achieved entirely in the cold dark. Skulls and heavy femurs were carefully, quietly stacked to create long decorative facades, building beautifully structured walls that gently line the winding, dusty paths. An observer named Aldrich spent hours examining a particular section known as the Crypt of the Passion, marveling at the incredible dedication required to create such precise, unhurried order in a place that no one was meant to casually see. This is an architecture built entirely of rest, a physical manifestation of putting things neatly and respectfully away when their long journey is finally over. There is a deep, profound peace in finally putting things away, organizing the heavy thoughts of the day, and leaving them to rest completely in the dark. Your own thoughts are neatly stacked away now, requiring absolutely no more attention until the morning. Because the tunnels of the catacombs reach so deeply into the earth, the heavy air inside feels noticeably different, possessing a thick, damp quality that naturally muffles all sound. Single footsteps softly striking the packed earth floor does not echo, but is rather instantly absorbed by the incredibly porous limestone walls and the quiet, waiting earth. A visitor named Thessaly noted that even when walking with others, he would inevitably feel a profound sense of completely safe, comforting isolation, as the heavy silence wraps perfectly around each individual person. It is a quiet that feels incredibly private, offering a space where you do not need to perform, explain, or interact with anyone else in the world. This is your completely private quiet right now. The heavy, comforting silence is wrapping perfectly around you, absorbing all the noise and leaving you entirely alone with your own gentle rest. Villages held in stone embrace high in the incredibly rugged, sun-baked mountains of southern Spain. The remarkable town of Setenil de las Bodegas slumbers peacefully under millions of tons of solid rock. Unlike traditional towns that are built entirely upon the earth, the houses here are built directly into the deeply eroded, natural overhangs of a massive river gorge. The people did not dig down into the dark, but rather allowed the enormous, ancient rock ceiling to completely serve as the roofs of their own quiet, whitewashed homes. An architect named Finian walked the narrow, deeply shaded streets, marveling at how the massive stone naturally absorbs the brutal summer heat, keeping the deeply recessed rooms wonderfully cool and dark all year long. There is a profound, comforting trust in building your safe, quiet life directly beneath a million-ton stone ceiling, knowing the earth itself is providing perfect, unshakable shelter. You can trust the heavy, safe feeling of your own resting place tonight, knowing it will perfectly shelter you until the morning light finally returns. The enormous rock overhangs of Setenil gently dictate the entire unhurried rhythm of daily life below. Because the massive stone completely blocks out the high, bright noon sun, the deep gorge remains pleasantly shaded, holding a thick, comforting coolness, while the plains above bake entirely in the heat. A local resident once told a traveler named Maran that living beneath the heavy rock naturally makes a person speak more softly, as if instinctively respecting the immense, quiet weight resting just a few feet above their heads. The architecture encourages a gentle, slow pace, as the narrow, winding paths carved by the ancient river cannot accommodate anything moving quickly or loudly. It is deeply soothing to imagine a place where the very landscape demands that you simply slow down, speak softly, and completely trust the heavy earth to protect you. Your own quiet room is demanding that exact same slow, gentle pace right now, completely removing the need for any speed or loud noise. The houses themselves are brilliantly simple, consisting only of bright white facade walls built softly across the naturally carved rock openings. The back walls, the floors, and the heavy ceilings are entirely composed of the natural untouched mountain, simply painted white to catch the soft, fading evening light. The historian named Cassian noted that this beautifully minimal approach to building requires absolutely no destruction of the natural landscape, but rather a gentle, harmonious blending with the quiet earth, exactly as it was found. The inhabitants simply moved into the deeply shadowed spaces the river had patiently carved over millions of years, finding a perfect, ready-made sanctuary waiting for them in the stone. There is a profound peace in not forcing things to change, but rather finding a perfectly comfortable way to fit softly into the quiet spaces that are already waiting for you. You have fit perfectly into your own quiet space tonight, asking nothing of the world, and simply resting in the dark, deep within the arid, sweeping plateau of the lowest plateau in northern China. An entirely different kind of subterranean village has sheltered millions of people for over 4,000 years, known as the Yaodong. These ancient dwellings are carved directly into the incredibly thick yellow loess soil, deeply sinking their quiet rooms into the vertical faces of the soft, compacted earth. The soil here is incredibly fine and tightly packed, allowing patient builders to carve beautiful, gracefully arched ceilings that perfectly support the immense weight of the earth resting safely above. A geographer named Alara spent a freezing winter in a deep traditional Yaodong, recording how the thick earthen walls completely block the howling, bitter winds, maintaining a wonderfully soft, warm temperature inside. While the surface world absolutely freezes, the earth acts as a massive, perfectly efficient thermal battery, absorbing the gentle heat of the summer and slowly releasing it throughout the long, dark winter. It is wonderfully comforting to know the earth remembers the warmth of the sun and saves it carefully for when it is needed most. The interior of a Yaodong is incredibly simple, beautifully focused on exactly what is necessary for a quiet, deeply settled life. The beautifully arched ceiling naturally guides the eye smoothly along its soft curve, completely lacking the harsh, sharp corners of modern, hurried architecture. A traveler named Dorian described the profound, thick silence that follows the absolute moment you step through the heavy wooden door, as the massive weight of the lowest soil instantly absorbs every single sound from the vast, windy plateau above. There is a deeply rooted sense of permanence in these earthen rooms, a quiet understanding that the family has rested safely in this exact same carved space for countless, unbroken generations. You do not need to build anything new or travel anywhere far tonight. You simply need to rest safely in the quiet permanence of the deep, waiting night. You might feel a slight, gentle heaviness gathering warmly across the back of your shoulders right now. That is just the tension of the day finally realizing it is safe to completely dissolve into the soft mattress beneath you. The roofs of these deeply buried Yaodong villages are often completely invisible from a distance, seamlessly blending into the flat, agricultural fields resting quietly above. A farmer can literally plow his quiet fields directly over the very rooms where his family is safely sleeping far below, separated only by a few thick yards of ancient, packed earth. A sociologist named Lyrian noted that this creates a profoundly beautiful relationship with the land, where the earth provides both the nourishing food from its sunlit surface and the deep, safe shelter from its quiet, dark interior. The people here understand that they are completely held by the earth in every possible way, nurtured deeply from above, and protected safely from below. We are all held by the gentle, supporting earth in our own quiet ways, perfectly safe and entirely nurtured by the stillness of the deep night, the quiet patience of bedrock beneath the softly rolling green fields of Nottingham, England. A remarkably complex, silent city slumbers directly beneath the modern streets. The Nottingham caves are entirely man-made, slowly and patiently carved over 1,000 years, directly into the soft, easily yielding sandstone bedrock upon which the bright city above rests. Because the sandstone is so wonderfully dry and easy to shape by hand, generations of people dug gently downwards, creating over 800 distinct, entirely separate underground caves, perfectly hidden in the dark. An archivist named Aldrich spent a quiet autumn exploring these winding, sandy corridors, discovering perfectly intact medieval tanneries, quiet Victorian cellars, and long-forgotten, sleeping malt kilns. The air inside these carved sandstone rooms smells incredibly ancient and dry, completely separated from the damp, heavy rain that so frequently falls on the green hills far above. It is a profoundly comforting feeling to step completely out of the wet weather and into a dry, safe space that has quietly sheltered people for over a millennium. You have stepped into your own perfectly dry, safe space tonight, where the weather of the busy world absolutely cannot reach you. The soft Nottingham sandstone holds the marks of human hands with an incredibly gentle, unhurried grace. The walls of these buried rooms are not rough or jagged, but instead beautifully smoothed by centuries of quiet, deliberate use, slowly rounding all the sharp corners until everything feels incredibly soft to the touch. The historian, named Marin, traced the perfectly smooth, worn stone of an ancient staircase, noting how countless footsteps had patiently, over hundreds of years, slowly melted the hard edges of the rock into a deeply comforting, rolling curve. It is profoundly beautiful to think that simply walking the same quiet path enough times can slowly soften even the hardest stone. Time naturally smooths away all the sharp edges of the day, leaving only a gentle, rounded memory that is completely easy to hold in the dark. You can let the sharp edges of your own day slowly smooth away right now, softening perfectly into the gentle quiet of the late night during periods of great difficulty. These deep sandstone rooms provided an incredibly perfect, quiet sanctuary from the noisy, troubled world above during the heavy bombings of the Second World War. The city authorities quickly expanded the ancient caves, creating a massive, interconnected network of completely safe air raid shelters deep in the rock. Thousands of people descended into the dark sandstone, bringing soft blankets, quiet conversations, and small, flickering lamps to read completely safely, while the sirens wailed far above in the night. A local resident named Julian described the profound, thick silence that instantly blanketed the people as they stepped deeply into the rock, completely absorbing the terrifying noise of the bright sky. The earth was simply waiting to offer its heavy, perfect protection, asking absolutely nothing in return but trust in the quiet dark. We all need to descend into a quiet, heavy safety sometimes, leaving the loud alarms of the day completely behind. Deep beneath the sun-baked, ancient streets of Jerusalem, an incredibly massive, entirely silent cavern slumbers beneath the old city walls, known as Zedekiah's Cave, or simply the ancient quarries. This vast, echoing space was entirely hollowed out by patient stonecutters thousands of years ago. The cavern extends deeply into the white limestone, creating a sprawling, 5-acre underground hall completely unsupported by anything other than the massive natural stone pillars carefully left behind by the ancient builders. A surveyor named Evander walked the entire length of the dark, dusty cavern, noting that the absolute silence inside is so profound it feels almost like a heavy, physical blanket softly wrapping around your ears. The only sound in the deep dark is the incredibly slow, rhythmic drip of water falling from the ceiling, a tiny spring known as Zidikaya's tears. Single quiet drop of water falling in the absolute dark is a profoundly beautiful sound, perfectly marking time at a pace that has absolutely nothing to do with clocks or schedules. The white limestone extracted from this deep, silent cavern was highly prized for its incredible beauty, known locally as Malik, which gently translates to royal stone. When the heavy stone is first cut in the cool dark, it is beautifully soft and easy to precisely carve. But it naturally hardens completely once it is finally exposed to the bright, warm sun above. The ancient workers understood that the deepest, most beautiful things are often the softest when they are first discovered quietly in the dark. A historian named Lyrian noted the incredible, quiet patience required to slowly coax such perfectly square, beautiful blocks from the heavy sleeping earth, using only simple iron tools and dim lamplight. The heavy work was done entirely in the quiet dark, so that something beautiful could eventually stand in the light. Your own quiet time in the dark tonight is preparing you softly for the light of the morning, slowly restoring your strength exactly where no one else can see. You might feel a slight, gentle heaviness gathering warmly across the back of your shoulders right now. That is just the tension of the day finally realizing it is safe to completely dissolve into the soft mattress beneath you. The deepest, most isolated section of Zedekiah's cave remains completely untouched by the sun, holding an atmosphere of absolute, unbroken stillness that has lasted for millennia. Because the cavern was sealed completely shut and forgotten entirely for hundreds of years, the dust on the floor slowly settled into perfect, undisturbed waves, entirely unbothered by the wind or passing footsteps. The cavern named Soren described the feeling of finally breaking the seal in the mid-19th century, stepping softly into a space that had perfectly, patiently held its cool breath since the days of antiquity. It is deeply relaxing to know that there are places in the world where absolutely nothing has changed for thousands of years, places that require absolutely no energy, no movement, and no attention. You have found your own perfectly unchanging, quiet space right now, a place where you can simply stop moving and finally allow everything to settle completely. Temples hidden from the sky deep within the volcanic basalt cliffs of Maharashtra in India. A massive temple was carved entirely from a single continuous piece of stone. The Kailasa temple at Ellora was not built by stacking heavy blocks, but was instead gently freed from the heavy mountain by patient hands working slowly downwards from the very top. An architect named Caius spent quiet months studying the sheer walls, calculating that over 200,000 tons of solid rock were slowly, carefully removed over a period of nearly 20 years. The workers used only small steel chisels and heavy hammers, removing the stone flake by tiny flake in the bright sun, leaving behind a perfectly formed sanctuary in the cool, shaded rock below. There is an immense, abiding peace in knowing that incredible beauty is often already waiting patiently inside the heavy stone, requiring only time and slow, deliberate effort to be fully revealed. You possess your own beautiful, quiet sanctuary inside, waiting patiently beneath the heavy thoughts of the day to finally be uncovered and perfectly enjoyed. The interior of this beautifully carved temple features wonderfully dark, incredibly heavy stone pillars that perfectly support the immense weight of the overhanging cliff. Because it was carved from a single unbroken piece of the ancient mountain, the acoustics within the deepest shrines are incredibly profound and beautifully resonant. The historian named Serafina noted that a single softly chanted note, sung in the central assembly hall, will gently vibrate through the solid stone floor, traveling effortlessly into the surrounding, deeply shadowed shrines. The entire structure acts exactly like a massive, perfectly tuned instrument, designed simply to catch and gracefully hold the quietest, most peaceful sounds of human reverence. It is deeply soothing to imagine being wrapped completely inside a single, resonant stone that gently vibrates with a slow, deeply calming hum. You can allow your own body to become exactly like that quiet, resting stone, perfectly still and completely relaxed, gently holding on to the quiet, peaceful hum of the deep, waiting night. A short, wonderfully quiet journey away from Ellora lies the gently curving, horseshoe-shaped gorge of Ajanta, hiding another extraordinary world of ancient devotion. Carved directly into the incredibly steep, heavily forested ravine are 30 separate rock-cut Buddhist cave monuments, sleeping completely hidden from the bright, vast sky above. These quiet sanctuaries contain some of the most beautifully preserved, delicate murals of the ancient world, painted softly on a gentle layer of mud plaster completely by the dim, flickering light of small oil lamps. A restorer named Florian spent slow years carefully cleaning the ancient pigments, discovering that the artist brilliantly used crushed green earth, lapis lazuli, and deep red ochre to capture a profound sense of perfect, eternal calm on the painted faces. The figures on the incredibly ancient walls seemed to float in a state of absolute tranquil suspension, asking absolutely nothing from the world, and simply resting beautifully in the dark. It is deeply comforting to think that profound peace can be captured so perfectly and held securely in the quiet dark for thousands of years. The monks who resided in these deeply carved caves deliberately chose an environment of profound, beautiful isolation. During the incredibly heavy, torrential rains of the annual monsoon season, the deeply cut gorge completely fills with the loud rushing sound of water, effectively cutting the sanctuaries off entirely from the loud, busy outside world. An explorer named Calliope describes sitting entirely quietly inside cave number 1 during a heavy, dark storm, noting how the massive, thick rock perfectly muffled the chaotic weather, leaving only a soft, comforting vibration in the cool stone floor. The heavy, seasonal rains created an absolute boundary, a perfect, undeniable excuse to simply stop moving, completely withdraw from the bright world, and focus entirely on the quiet, internal landscape of the resting mind. We all need an absolute boundary sometimes, a heavy rain that lovingly allows us to simply stay completely still and rest without any guilt or expectation. You are perfectly sheltered from the storms of the world right now, resting safely in your own quiet, unbroken sanctuary, high in the incredibly rugged, beautifully desolate mountains of Ethiopia. Another collection of hidden sanctuaries slumbers perfectly in the red volcanic tuff. The 11 monolithic rock-cut churches of Lalibela were completely excavated downwards into the earth, their massive roofs resting perfectly level with the quiet, dusty ground above them. To completely free these intricate, towering structures from the solid rock, ancient builders carved deep, narrow trenches perfectly around them, slowly isolating the heavy stone until a beautifully freestanding church gently emerged in the deep center. A surveyor named Oberon mapped the intricate, hidden network of dark, quiet tunnels that perfectly connect these deeply sunken churches, allowing the people to move completely unseen between the cool, heavily shadowed courtyards. Walking through these deeply sunken passages feels exactly like walking through the very veins of the ancient earth, surrounded completely by the heavy, silent rock that has patiently stood there for millions of years. It is a profound, beautiful comfort to be surrounded by something so incredibly ancient, letting its deep, unwavering patience slowly become your own. The most famously beautiful of these Ethiopian sanctuaries is the Church of St. George, carved perfectly in the shape of a massive, symmetrical cross. From a distance across the flat, dusty landscape, the incredible structure is completely invisible, gently revealing itself only when a weary traveler stands directly at the very edge of the deep, beautifully carved pit. A visitor named Ilara gently descended the steep, heavily worn steps leading down into the quiet courtyard, noting that the sheer rock walls perfectly block the harsh, biting winds. creating a profoundly still, comfortably warm microclimate at the very bottom. The stone here is beautifully colored, a soft, blushing pink that gently absorbs the harsh, demanding light of the noon sun and softly radiates a warm, comforting glow into the deep, waiting shadows. There's a deep, quiet safety in being completely hidden from the bright horizon, surrounded perfectly by warm, heavy walls that simply ask you to rest. You can softly descend into your own deep, quiet space right now, leaving the bright, harsh horizon entirely behind you. The ancient carvers of these deeply sunken churches displayed a profound, deeply respectful understanding of the natural water flowing quietly around them, because the beautiful sanctuaries sit entirely at the bottom of deep, heavy pits. The architects carefully carved a beautifully complex system of gentle slopes, perfectly hidden drains, and quiet cisterns to flawlessly manage the heavy seasonal rains. An engineer named Bastian marveled at the absolute, quiet perfection of this ancient system, noting that for over 800 years, the deep, sunken courtyards have completely remained beautifully dry and perfectly safe, quietly routing the massive floodwaters completely away into the dark rock. The heavy rains simply arrive, are gently guided away by the waiting, intelligent stone, and quietly disappear without ever causing a single moment of harm to the beautiful sleeping structures. You can beautifully allow the heavy, busy thoughts of your own day to be gently routed away exactly like that, slipping quietly into the dark without leaving a single trace behind. The deep, heavy stone of the night will perfectly protect your quiet rest until the morning slowly returns. The final descent into slumber. As we travel deeper into the very quietest layers of the world, the heavy stone slowly begins to lose its physical shape and softly becomes something closer to pure, unbroken time. The underground ceases to be a place built by human hands and gently transforms into a vast, silent philosophy of absolute, unshakable rest. A quiet observer named Zephyr once wrote that to walk far enough into the deep earth is to slowly walk completely out of your own busy era, leaving the rushing calendar behind to enter a space where centuries pass like slow, gentle breaths. The ancient rock here does not measure time by the quick, frantic movement of the sun across a bright sky, but rather by the incredibly slow, patient settling of its own immense, protective weight. It is profoundly freeing to realize that your own human urgency absolutely does not matter down here, softly dissolving completely into the massive, ancient patience of the waiting bedrock. The fast, spinning world above has completely vanished, leaving only a thick, comforting silence. You could leave your own timeline entirely behind now, sinking beautifully into a place where time simply stops asking anything of you. In the deepest, most isolated caverns where absolutely no sunlight has ever touched the waiting stone, darkness is completely and beautifully redefined. It is no longer an absence of light, but rather a profoundly rich, comforting physical presence that softly fills the entire massive room, wrapping perfectly around you like a heavy velvet blanket. Wanderer named Solstice sat completely still in this absolute, unbroken dark, and beautifully noted that without the bright distraction of seeing, the mind simply stops searching outward and finally, peacefully turns entirely inward to completely rest. The darkness here is wonderfully safe and deeply kind, perfectly hiding all the small, jagged imperfections of the busy day and softening every sharp edge into a beautiful, gentle blur of pure calm. When there is absolutely nothing left to look at, the tired eyes can finally surrender their heavy vigil, trusting the absolute dark completely to hold the shape of the entire world. While they sleep softly, your own eyes can fully surrender to that deep, kind darkness right now, knowing the quiet night is perfectly watching over you while you rest completely. The incredible, unhurried slowness of the deepest earth offers a perfect, gentle medicine for a mind that has been moving far too quickly all through the loud day. Down here, in the perfect, quiet dark, the fastest moving thing is the incredibly slow, patient formation of a single drop of water softly gathering on a cold, ancient stone ceiling. A quiet thinker named Lore spent hours simply watching one such drop softly form, realizing that it takes a profound, beautiful kind of trust to gather so slowly, completely unbothered by the rushing, frantic world spinning far above. There is absolutely no need to hurry when your only destination is the quiet, waiting pool perfectly resting just a few feet below in the absolute shadows. We so often forget that we are completely allowed to move exactly this slowly, to simply stop rushing entirely, and let gravity gently pull us exactly where we need to softly land. You can let the gentle, comforting gravity of your own soft bed pull you slowly downward right now, completely abandoning all need for any speed or urgent destination tonight. The air resting quietly at the very bottom of the subterranean world is perhaps the oldest, most incredibly patient breath you will ever softly take. It is wonderfully still and beautifully heavy, completely filtered by miles of solid, ancient rock, until absolutely all the chaotic dust and noise of the surface world are perfectly and completely removed. A traveler named Fable breathed deeply in a completely sealed limestone chamber, describing the air as feeling wonderfully thick and deeply nourishing, carrying only the faint, comforting scent of ancient rain and softly sleeping earth. To breathe this quiet, heavy air is to breathe in perfect, undisturbed stillness, filling your own tired lungs with the ancient peace of a quiet world that has absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone. Every single breath you take down here naturally slows your racing heart, perfectly matching the incredibly unhurried, rhythmic pulse of the massive, sleeping stone that warmly and completely surrounds you. You can take one of those long, slow, deeply settling breaths right now, filling yourself completely with the absolute, ancient quiet of the beautifully waiting earth. When you sink this incredibly deeply into the quiet earth, you finally realize that the immense weight gently resting above you is not a burden at all, but rather a perfect, absolute embrace. The millions of tons of heavy stone do not crush, but instead completely and wonderfully shield you, providing an impossibly thick, unshakable barrier between your resting mind and the loud, endlessly demanding surface. A philosopher named Vale wrote beautifully about this deep, heavy protection, noting that true safety is only truly found when you are entirely surrounded by something vast, ancient, and completely immovable. The earth simply holds you exactly as you are, asking for absolutely no effort, no performance, and no busy thoughts in return for its perfect, heavy, unbroken shelter. It is deeply, profoundly wonderful to be held so completely, securely wrapped in the absolute center of a stillness that has lasted perfectly for millions of quiet, undisturbed years. Your own quiet center is holding you perfectly exactly like that tonight, wrapping you safely in a gentle, heavy, unshakable peace that will last until the distant dawn, as the absolute final layers of waking thought slowly and softly drift completely away. You find yourself resting beautifully on the very bedrock of your own deep, quiet consciousness. This is the quietest, most peaceful place of all, a vast, echoing chamber perfectly and completely insulated from everything that happened today and everything that might possibly happen tomorrow. A dreamer named Frost described this beautiful final descent as simply becoming a soft, quiet stone resting perfectly at the very bottom of a deep, dark well, completely content to just sit silently in the cool, still water forever. There is absolutely nothing left to solve here, no more winding tunnels to carefully navigate, and no more distant light to anxiously seek out in the deep, incredibly comfortable dark. You have finally arrived at the absolute bottom of the quiet night, where the only thing left to do is to let the slow, gentle currents of sleep softly wash entirely over you. The long journey downward is completely finished, and the beautiful, unbroken rest is finally all that wonderfully remains. The deep earth keeps its mysteries beautifully, folding them softly into the dark where they simply rest without ever needing to be understood. There is a profound, patiently waiting peace in allowing things to remain entirely unseen and completely still. We honor that ancient, heavy quiet simply by joining it, completely surrendering our own tired thoughts to the soft, enduring patience of the deep stone. Good night, Lyra. May the gentle, heavy dark hold you perfectly safe until the morning slowly comes. If you are still with me, the next journey is already waiting.